The courtroom falls silent. All eyes converge on Sean "Diddy" Combs as he steps behind the defense table, shoulders squared but tension already crackling in the air. Across the room, a young Justin Bieber adjusts his tie, hands trembling as he prepares to stand again before Judge Frank Caprio. "Your Honor," the prosecutor's voice rings unexpectedly soft, "the moment has come for the truth." A ripple shudders through the gallery. For months, rumors swirled about a secret incident, but no one expected Justin, pop's golden boy, to testify against one of music's most powerful moguls. As Judge Caprio's gavel hovers above his bench, the atmosphere turns electric with anticipation. What exactly did Diddy do to Justin Bieber? And how will a compassionate judge navigate the collision between celebrity, accountability, and mercy? Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories in the courtroom. A soft hum of chatter drifts through the United States District Courthouse in Providence, Rhode Island, as onlookers settle into their seats. In the center aisle, Sean "Diddy" Combs appears in a tailored charcoal gray suit, his posture a mix of dignity and barely contained anxiety. At 45, he's known across the world as a fashion mogul, music producer, and cultural icon. Yet today, he stands in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, famed for its warm-hearted at-home justice, facing a charge that sounds more like a scandalous tabloid headline than a legal proceeding. Diddy exchanges quiet greetings with his defense team. One attorney leans in, whispers something that causes Diddy to tilt his head. Whether a joke or a last-minute strategy, his lips twitch in a ghost of a smile. In the back, reporters shuffle notes, adjusting lenses and microphones. A flurry of camera shutters clicks when the door at the far end opens and Justin Bieber enters, escorted by a bailiff. Justin is 21, dressed in a crisp white button-up and navy slacks. He carries the air of someone who has grown up under constant scrutiny, confident, approachable, but undeniably nervous for what comes next. A hush falls as Justin walks past, nodding politely to friends from the music industry who sit among spectators. At the counsel table, Diddy taps his fingertips on a stack of legal documents, glancing up whenever Justin's name is called. The judge's clerk announces, "Court is now in session, the Honorable Judge Frank Caprio presiding." Judge Caprio, aged 68, steps onto the bench, a warm smile on his face. He wears his customary black robe, but carries with him the gentle demeanor for which he's beloved. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen," Judge Caprio begins, voice calm and steady. A light chuckle escapes him as he peers down at Diddy. "Mr. Combs, you look as though you misplaced your championship belt. Shall we get started?" The remark elicits a ripple of laughter in the gallery, and even Diddy cracks a slight grin. The judge's levity breaks some of the tension, yet underlying it is a palpable seriousness. Everyone in the room knows that today's proceedings could alter the course of two careers, and perhaps reveal a hidden side of celebrity justice. The prosecutor, Assistant U.S. Attorney Marissa Chung, rises and approaches the lectern. She's composed, professional, and carries an air of quiet intensity. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, we are here to determine the facts of an incident that occurred on the night of October 12, 2023. On that evening, Mr. Combs is alleged to have committed an act of coercion against Mr. Bieber, which Mr. Bieber will detail once called to the stand. We believe the evidence will show this was not a mere misunderstanding, but a serious infringement on Mr. Bieber's personal rights." Diddy's defense attorney, Marcus Reynolds, stands. A tall man in a navy suit, his voice is smooth, almost comforting. "Your Honor, we ask the court and the public to withhold judgment until all evidence is presented. If anything, Mr. Combs is a man whose charitable work and community leadership have defined him for decades. Any claims made tonight deserve careful scrutiny." Judge Caprio nods thoughtfully. Let's proceed with the testimony. Call the first witness. Justin rises from his seat, steps onto the witness stand, and raises his right hand. The clerk administers the oath. Justin's eyes flick toward Diddy, an intensity there that hadn't been present when he first walked in. Prosecutor, quietly. Mr. Bieber, can you state your full name and occupation for the record? Justin, voice steady. Justin Drew Bieber. I'm a singer and songwriter. Prosecutor. On October 12th, 2023, did you have a meeting scheduled with Mr. Combs? Justin. Yes. We had a private dinner planned at the Harbor Club in New York. A gallery member gasps softly. A private dinner between these two titans was known only to a few insiders. The hush grows heavier. Prosecutor. And what was the purpose of that meeting? Justin. To discuss potential collaboration on a charity concert. Mr. Combs had reached out, suggesting we co-host an event to benefit underprivileged youth in Toronto. Heads nod at the positive intention. Suddenly, the tone shifts. Prosecutor. At some point during that meeting, did Mr. Combs take actions you felt were coercive? Justin, voice tight. Yes. After we finished discussing the charity, he asked me to stay behind, said he wanted to talk business. I agreed, but then he tried to pressure me into signing a contract that would give him partial rights to my master recordings under threat of pulling funding for the charity if I didn't agree. A murmur ripples through the courtroom. Diddy's face remains composed, though his jaw clenches. He leans forward, listening intently. Prosecutor. Mr. Bieber, did you feel threatened? Justin. Absolutely. He raised his voice, told me I wouldn't see even 1 penny for the concert unless I signed. It felt like extortion. I felt cornered. Diddy's defense attorney stands to cross-examine. Mr. Bieber, is it not true that you had previously discussed business opportunities with Mr. Combs and were aware of his reputation for tough negotiation? Justin, calmly. Yes, I knew he was a strong businessman. But what happened that night crossed a line. It wasn't negotiation, it was coercion. Reynolds searches through a folder. Your Honor, we have text messages between Mr. Combs and Mr. Bieber, sent that evening, which demonstrate a cordial tone after their meeting. Would you agree, Mr. Bieber? Justin leans forward, recognizing the attempt. Your Honor, those texts were sent after I left. I was shaken. He knew how to calm me down afterward, but that doesn't erase what happened in person. Judge Caprio listens, brow furrowed, then raises a hand. I want to see all communications between the two, before, during, and after. Please submit them for review, Mr. Reynolds. As the attorneys shuffle papers and whisper, Judge Caprio addresses the jurors. Though this is a bench trial, his words still guide the mood. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Let's take a short recess while we review these messages. Court stands in recess for 10 minutes. The gavel strikes softly. In the hallway, spectators lean toward each other in hushed tones. Some remark on the power dynamic. Justin, more accustomed to stadium lights, now feeling vulnerable under Diddy's imposing influence. Others note how Diddy's composure masks an undercurrent of unease. 10 minutes later, everyone returns to their seats. Judge Caprio begins again. We have reviewed the texts. They do not conclusively contradict Mr. Bieber's account. Mr. Reynolds, we will hear from your first witness in defense. Diddy's defense calls his former business partner, Ricardo "Rick" Martinez, to the stand. Rick, a broad-shouldered man with a confident grin, steps up. Defense, Rick. I've known Mr. Combs for 18 years. He's a respected entrepreneur, always straight with everyone. That night, I was with him until after the dinner wrapped. He never seemed angry or upset. Under cross-examination by the prosecutor, Rick concedes he wasn't in the private meeting room where the alleged coercion took place. "I can't speak to what went on behind closed doors," he admits. Next, the prosecutor introduces surveillance footage from the Harbor Club's security cameras. The footage, played on a large screen, shows Justin entering a private room with Diddy. They chat amicably. Then the scene shifts to Justin leaving alone, looking distressed. The video doesn't clearly capture voices, but the body language is striking. Diddy leans forward aggressively, gesturing with his hands, while Justin's shoulders slump. Judge Caprio pauses the video. This sequence tells us they were engaged in a private conversation of some consequence. We will submit this as evidence, but we need clearer context. He turns to the jury, though in this bench trial, his expression serves as the final barometer. The rebuttal from Diddy's side is brief. A character witness, a Grammy-winning artist produced by Diddy, testifies that Diddy has always been generous and would never coerce a young artist under threat. Still, the weight of Justin's own testimony and the body language on video create a nagging doubt. As the court recesses for lunch, the camera lingers on Justin Bieber, sitting alone in a corner booth of a small cafe. He gazes down at a photo on his phone, an image of him at 13, a nervous teenager clutching a microphone, eyes alight with dreams. A single tear slides down his cheek. The narrative voice returns, soft and reflective. Justin's road to fame was paved by adoration, but also by vulnerability. At 15, he signed with Scooter Braun, the turmoil of sudden wealth and attention swirling around him. Though he grew into superstar status, childhood insecurities lingered beneath the surface. When Diddy, an icon he'd admired, invited him to collaborate, Justin felt honored. In his mind, Diddy represented a mentor who could guide him toward greatness. He never expected the price. 24 hours before he walked into Caprio's courtroom, Justin confided to his closest friend, Haley Baldwin. "I can't believe I let him corner me," he'd whispered. "He's like a father figure, so I trusted him. But it felt like he was playing me." Haley had squeezed his hand. "You did the right thing telling the truth," she assured him. Still, the fear persisted. Would his own idolization of Diddy cost him more than a record deal? Back in the courtroom, Justin takes the stand again, this time for direct examination about his personal history. His voice trembles as he recounts the moment Diddy leaned in, saying, "Kid, you want to do right by these kids? Sign now or watch it all evaporate." Justin's lip quivers as he describes how he sat frozen, torn between anger and loyalty. Someone in the gallery sniffles. The judge's eyes soften. It's clear that beneath Justin's superstar facade lies a young man still grappling with trusting others. Diddy, listening from the defense table, keeps his face poker straight, but a flash of regret crosses his eyes. The courtroom atmosphere shifts from mere legal scrutiny to a poignant struggle between mentor and protege, power and innocence. After the lunch break, Judge Caprio calls the court back to order. He leans forward, fingertips together, gazing at both Justin and Diddy. "We've heard evidence and testimonies," he begins, his tone measured, yet imbued with warmth. "But before we proceed to more witnesses, I want to take a moment to address something I often contemplate: the complex intersection of power, trust, and responsibility." He pauses, as if collecting his thoughts. "Mr. Combs, you have built an empire from the ground up. Your influence stretches beyond music, into fashion, philanthropy, and community leadership. Many look up to you. When a young artist like Mr. Bieber enters your orbit, he places trust in you not just as a business partner, but as a figure who holds his dreams in his hands." He turns eyes toward Justin. "And you, Mr. Bieber, have navigated trials most of us could never imagine. You say you admired Mr. Combs, But admiration can sometimes blind us to the possibility of misuse of power. The judge's voice softens. This case is not simply about a contract or a closed-room conversation. It's about whether someone wielding great influence used it to intimidate a vulnerable young person. It's a moral question. When someone extends a helping hand, does that hand also hold a dagger behind its back? Diddy shifts uncomfortably, and a brief hush falls. Judge Caprio's gaze lingers on him. I've presided over cases where defendants came from circumstances far different than Mr. Combs. Some had no resources, others faced systemic obstacles. Yet the threads that tie us all, our capacity to help or harm, remain the same, regardless of status. Today, this court must determine not only what happened, but why. Was there intent to exploit vulnerability? Or was there a misunderstanding between two men at different stages of life and career? He leans back, allowing space for the weight of his questions to settle. In this courtroom, justice must be tempered with mercy, accountability with compassion. It's my duty to consider both the harm done and the potential for redemption. Over the next several minutes, Judge Caprio narrates internal monologues, though unspoken, about the balance between upholding the law and acknowledging the complexities of human relationships. He mentions similar cases he's seen, where mentors genuinely acted with good intentions but misjudged the power dynamics. He reflects on lessons from his own youth, times when authority figures guided him, sometimes rightly, sometimes with flawed judgment. He cites, without dwelling on specifics, the importance of making decisions that both correct wrongs and foster healing. The judge's soliloquy lasts several minutes, filling the courtroom with a sense of thoughtful pause rather than rushed verdict. Despite the absence of formal dialogue, his internal reasoning resonates throughout the chamber, reminding everyone present that justice in Judge Caprio's court is never merely black or white. After this reflective interlude, the prosecutor calls a surprise witness, Diddy's former chauffeur, Luis Hernandez. Though hesitant, Luis takes the stand, his expression solemn. He explains in low tones that after the alleged incident, he overheard conversations suggesting Diddy freaked out once Justin left the room. I heard Mr. Combs on the phone that night, saying, "He's making waves with Bieber. We need to contain this before it goes public." Luis's revelation electrifies the courtroom. The defense rises immediately, objection poised. "Your Honor, this is hearsay," Marcus Reynolds states firmly. The judge holds up a hand. "Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Hernandez's testimony is hearsay if he repeats someone else's words, but I want him to clarify. Did he hear Mr. Combs's voice directly on the phone?" Luis nods. "Yes, Your Honor. I was in the car when Mr. Combs called his publicist. I heard him say, 'Justin's upset. If he goes to the press, this could ruin everything. We need him to back down.'" The gallery buzzes with renewed energy. If true, it suggests Diddy attempted to silence Justin, not negotiate. The prosecution seizes on this. "Mr. Bieber, knowing about Mr. Combs's phone call, did it influence your decision to come forward today?" Justin steadies himself. "Yes. When I found out he was trying to intimidate me beyond that night, I knew I had to speak up. Not just for myself, but for any young artist who might be afraid to stand up." Judge Caprio leans forward, gaze steady on Diddy. "Mr. Combs, do you wish to respond to Mr. Hernandez's account?" Diddy rises, clears his throat. His voice is quieter than before. "Your Honor, if I said those things, it was out of fear. Fear that our charity would collapse, that hundreds of kids would lose out. I panicked. I never intended to threaten Mr. Bieber, only to protect the project. I regret letting my temper get the best of me." The judge hears out Diddy's apology and crosses to the bench's side, addressing the jury. Though in a bench trial, his words alone stand. We have new evidence suggesting an attempt at intimidation occurred after the initial incident. This changes the context. I will allow the rest of the defendant's communications from that week to be introduced. Next, the judge calls in Justin's publicist, which adds further weight. She testifies that Diddy's team reached out repeatedly, offering Justin powerful incentives to drop the case, including exclusive recording sessions and financial gifts, on the condition that he not testify. It becomes clear that money and influence were used to try to derail the truth. A hush closes over the courtroom as the judge reviews written statements. He looks from Diddy, demeanor now resigned, to Justin, steadfast but visibly worn. "We have heard enough for now," Judge Caprio announces. "Court will reconvene tomorrow for closing arguments." The gavel falls. Outside, Diddy is escorted away, head bowed. Justin steps into a waiting car, face composed despite exhaustion. In the shadows, Judge Caprio stands alone in his chambers, contemplating the next day's verdict. The following morning, the courtroom fills once more. The air feels heavy as everyone senses this is the moment of reckoning. Judge Caprio takes his seat, the bench radiating the quiet authority he's known for. He nods at the attorneys to proceed. The prosecutor, voice resolute, summarizes the evidence: the coercive meeting, the surveillance footage, the recorded phone call, and the documented attempts to silence Justin. She reminds the judge that the law exists to protect the vulnerable, that no amount of fame or fortune places a person above accountability. When it's Diddy's turn, Reynolds speaks with measured compassion. "Your Honor, Sean Combs is a man who has done enormous good. Charities, scholarships, community outreach. He's not perfect, but he's human. Like any leader, he's made mistakes. Today, he stands before this court acknowledging those mistakes. His outreach to Justin after the incident was not to intimidate, but misguided attempts to reconcile and preserve a charitable venture that would have helped thousands of children." Diddy stands before the judge to address him directly. His voice carries a trace of remorse. "Judge Caprio, I have spent years building an empire to give back. But I lost sight of my own values when I tried to control the situation. For that, I am deeply sorry. If I could go back, I would handle things differently, with respect, honesty, and care. I ask this court for an opportunity to make amends, not just for myself, but for the communities I've pledged to serve." Judge Caprio listens, eyes softening. He considers Justin, seated in the front row, shoulders straight, expression guarded but offering a small nod. Then, in a moment that seems to slow time, Judge Caprio rises from the bench. He moves closer to Diddy, lowering his voice so only Diddy can hear. "Mr. Combs, I believe your regret is sincere, but I also know that forgiveness does not erase harm. You have influence that can either build or destroy. It's time to rebuild trust." He turns to the entire courtroom. After careful consideration, this court finds Sean Combs guilty of using his position to coerce Justin Bieber on October 12, 2023, and of subsequent attempts to intimidate. However, this court also recognizes Mr. Combs's history of philanthropy and his potential to do good. A hush falls. Everyone leans in to hear the sentence. "Mr. Combs, I hereby sentence you to 1 year of supervised community service devoted to mentoring young artists free of charge. No conditions. You will host at least 5 workshops in inner-city music programs, speaking candidly about ethical leadership and the responsible use of power. You will also establish a $500,000 trust to fund emergency legal assistance for emerging artists who find themselves exploited. For the coercion and intimidation, you are fined $250,000, payable to a fund for mental health resources for young entertainers. No jail time. This court believes public service and restitution are the best way forward." Diddy's shoulders sag. and tears fill his eyes. He clasps his hands together, eyes on Justin, then lowers his head. The courtroom exhales collectively, as if holding its breath until that moment. Justin stands, visibly moved. He approaches the bench and says in a voice that wavers only slightly, "Your Honor, thank you for showing me that the law is about fairness, but also about empathy." Judge Caprio nods. "Mr. Bieber, your bravery in speaking truthfully shows that even the smallest voice can ring loudly against injustice. I hope that this outcome helps you heal." Justin turns to Diddy and extends a hand. Diddy grips it firmly, tears glistening on his cheeks. Photographers capture the moment, two high-profile figures united in a gesture that speaks of accountability, forgiveness, and hope. The halls of justice remain busy even after the gavel falls. Outside, cameras flash as Justin and Diddy exit together, their faces composed, but their steps heavy with the weight of what just transpired. The story traveled from rumor-laden whispers to front-page headlines in mere hours. But in Judge Caprio's courtroom, it transformed into something far greater than scandal, a lesson about power, vulnerability, and redemption. In the days that follow, headlines proclaim, Diddy to mentor young artists, Justin Bieber advocates for ethical industry practices. Music sites reverberate with commentary on the charitable trust Diddy created, a landmark fund supporting mental health and legal rights for emerging talent. In interviews, Justin speaks candidly. "I didn't set out to destroy him. I set out to stand up for myself and the next generation." Judge Caprio's decision shows the world that accountability doesn't have to be punitive. It can be transformative. Diddy, once feared as a tough negotiator, now steps into the spotlight as a humbled leader. At the first workshop, held in a downtown community center, he addresses a room full of teenagers, strumming a guitar to calm his nerves. "I made mistakes," he tells them. "I tried to use my influence to control someone who looked up to me. I realize now that mentorship means guiding with respect, not fear." The young faces in the crowd lean forward, absorbing every word. Meanwhile, in a backstage interview, Justin confesses, "I was terrified, but I knew that speaking out could protect someone else from going through what I did." This case isn't just about me or Sean. It's about every kid who's told don't question the people who hand you opportunity. Critics debate whether Judge Caprio's choice of community service over jail time was too lenient. Some argue that a harsher sentence would deter future misuse of power. Others defend the judge's compassion, calling it a model for restorative justice. Through it all, Judge Caprio remains quiet, content to let the outcome speak for itself. As weeks become months, the trust fund flourishes. Stories emerge of young musicians who once faced predatory contracts finding legal aid through Diddy's initiative. Mental health counselors report an uptick in entertainers seeking support, attributable, they say, to the new mental health resources. Music blogs highlight how Diddy and Justin collaborated on a charity single, Rising Above, with lyrics about accountability, unity, and healing. The courtroom itself feels different once the case concludes. Tourists visiting Providence now pause at the steps, whispering, "This is where Caprio taught a billionaire a lesson in humility." The judge's legacy grows, not just as a dispenser of punishment, but as a shepherd of second chances. In a final scene, we see Judge Caprio returning to his chambers late one afternoon. He removes his robe, gathering his papers. His clerk hands him a letter addressed Judge Frank Caprio. It's from a former defendant whose life he once saved by offering community service instead of incarceration. The letter, written in shaky hand, reads, in part, "Your kindness turned my life around. I launched a nonprofit to help others find purpose. Thank you for seeing the person behind my mistakes." The judge's eyes mist over. He folds the letter gently and places it in a drawer marked Keep. As the courthouse lights dim, the lingering truth resonates. Justice is most powerful when it balances holding people accountable with recognizing their capacity for change. Sean Combs walked into Judge Caprio's courtroom as a music mogul facing disgrace. He walked out committed to guiding the next generation. Justin Bieber walked in as a young star afraid to stand up. He walked out emboldened, determined to shape a kinder industry. And the world watched as a compassionate judge wove a story of redemption into the fabric of celebrity culture. Proof that even high-profile courtrooms can become places of empathy, transformation, and hope. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. Where are you watching from? We want to know how Judge Caprio's brand of justice resonates with you. Don't forget to subscribe for more riveting courtroom tales that blend drama, compassion, and life-changing lessons. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, because here, every case shows us not just how people fall, but how they rise. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next courtroom.